They Live Inside of Us is a brand new 2020 horror film from the director that brought us The Witching season, which was an Amazon Prime TV series. It was like 5 episodes. I reviewed it. They were each very short. But this one is about a struggling writer who goes to stay in a haunted house for inspiration where he takes his daughters so that he can write a script after the tragic loss of his wife and this kid's mom. And while they are in there, he is writing, and his stories, I guess, start to come alive, but not really. I don't know. You know, here's a couple things. Number one, I don't think it's cool to have your friends go to IMDb and write a bunch of 10-star reviews for your movie. Like, if you go to IMDb right now, there's like 30 reviews of this movie that are like, almost every one of them is like 10 out of 10. And when I saw that, I was like, all right, there's something fishy going on here. But because the poster art was so cool, and because I thought that his television series had some promise to it, and I was like, all right, I want to see it. I'll check it out. I watched a movie today called The Curse of Audrey something. Earnshaw, something like that. Aubrey Earnshaw or Audrey Earnshaw, something like that. And I shut it off because I was like 30 minutes in. I wasn't feeling. I might go back. I don't know. We'll see. But with this one, about 30 minutes in, I felt the same. I was like, I'm gonna shut this off, and I was like, I already shut a movie off today. Like, I'm gonna stick this one out. This one's like an hour and 43 minutes, so even overstays its welcome. Just from that perspective, because this movie could have easily been an hour and a half. So the acting in this is amateurish, as one would expect of something low budget. So that doesn't really bother me. And I thought the main guy's performance was kind of rocky. Like, sometimes it felt decent, pretty decent, and then other times it was like really amateurish. But with a film like this is like that 80s throwback, which these guys just can't stop making. I'm not saying I'm against them. It's just, oh my God, can everyone just let the 80s go and start just trying to make your own thing? You can get real fucking tired of these 80s nostalgia throwback homage films. Like, they really, really get on my nerves. All the music, of course, the poster art, stuff like that. It's all trying to be the 80s. The other thing I wanted to say about this is that this felt like a scriptwriter who had a bunch of like basic ideas for certain things, and he sat down to write them, and they really went nowhere, and so he kind of just made a movie about that. Like, in the movie, this guy tries to write scripts, right? And he goes down his list of possible subgenres of horror he could write within, whether it be clowns or werewolves or zombies, or I'm not saying that's what he writes, but you get the gist. And while he's writing about these things, the story that is being told turns, into what we see for the moment as he's writing it. And none of these stories really go anywhere. This kind of reminds me of the recent movie Scare Me, where the stories that they're telling in the movie, while they never go to actually showing like a dramatization of it, it is unfinished, rough work. Except for in Scare Me, they did it in a different way. It was unique. It was funny because I liked the characters. I liked the way it went. This, on the other hand, it's just, I would be fine if it only did it once, or if he corrected himself and rewrote it better, and then we saw like multiple different takes of the writing process, to where I saw like, this is where it could have went, And me, I've written plenty of scripts where I sit down and I write something out and I'm like, ugh, why the fuck did I just write that? And then I back it up and then I write it again and then I'm like, okay, that's a little better. And then I back it up and I write it again. I'm like, oh, that's fucking cool. You know, and there's certain times where you write something and you're like, really? I really just write that? That was terrible. And then there's other times where you're like, you know, patting yourself on the back. Holy shit, that was rad. And that can happen in the same script. It can happen in the same night. It can happen on the same scene. So the fact that he just keeps like starting something and then getting to a point and then just stopping because he's there for this inspiration, and I guess he thinks he's just going to write a script overnight as he ignores his daughter, and I don't know. Just when he's writing these things and we get the blow by blow, like the actual interpretation of it on film as if he was making the film right there off that script, off that rough draft, none of it's interesting. None of it's scary. None of it's cool. I don't care about any of it. Like, it's trying to be an anthology with a bunch of uncompleted anthology works. Imagine watching an anthology film where all the anthology segments don't end, and where they get to a place where the writer literally is in the movie saying, oh shit, that didn't work. Oh shit, that didn't go anywhere. Oh shit, did I write that bad of a pun? Whatever, what have you. That would be a very frustrating watch. Like, hey, I'm here to watch an anthology movie with segments that are completed, segments that entertain me, segments that I'm interested in. You know what I mean? And that just does not happen here. And then they try to go like some kind of Shutter Island route within the movie as well. And just by that point, I was so checked out. Even if it did work, which personally didn't work for me, but even if it was going to work, I couldn't care less by that point. I couldn't care less because I just didn't care for anything going on. I didn't care about the characters at all. I didn't care about any of the stories that were being told within the movie. I don't know how you could, because as I said, they don't lead anywhere. There's no point to any of them. And then they try to have this kind of really tragic, reflective ending with like this narration and these like certain kinds of shot selections, and it's trying to invoke some kind of like emotional response, and I'm just not there, man. I'm just not there, because the rest of the journey to that scene, it didn't work. So I'm not along for that ride, for that climax, and here we are. So yeah, this was a shame. I didn't like this movie at all. So and I always talk about how with ultra low budget stuff like this, I know that the cast and the crew watch these kinds of reviews. Like anything that's going to be posted about these kinds of movies, these are the kinds of reviews that I dread even doing. Because I don't want to shit on some low budget film. Like, hey, why don't you fucking go out there and make a film? You know, I can see the argument. I've had that plenty of times from people's movies I've trashed that are low budget, and they're like, well, fuck you. Where's your movie? You think you're so smart? You think you're so cool? You know, those who don't do teach kind of thing. Like your reviews are like that. Fuck you. And I totally get it. So, one guy's opinion. Take it or leave it. Adios.